Good morning. Welcome back. Is it welcome back? Yes, welcome back because we met yesterday. so welcome back. Anyway, good morning. Welcome to Good Morning Kenya. My name is Victor Olo. How are you doing? Today is the 4th day of this great month of December 2024. We are slowly and surely coming to a close of this busy year for us as Kenyans. And yes, a lot is happening in the country and across the world, but that is the way it is. So today on The Viewpoint, I'll be talking about the issue with COP29, which just culminated a week or so ago in Baku, Azerbaijan. And I want us to take a look at some of the take-homes that we picked from there. In as far as renewable energy is concerned, how are we doing? There is that case of loss and damages that some of the countries have been fighting for so many years. And also to celebrate women in the energy industry, one of the industry that perhaps people would say is predominantly occupied by men. But there are ladies who are also taking part in that industry, and they are doing a great work. I'll be talking to John Jogu, who is the CEO of Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya. Ismail Saumu, she is the program manager, Kenya Climate Innovation Center, as well as engineer James Ngomeli, who is the Secretary General of Africa Smart Meter Association. They appeared before the Senate some times back. What was the issue? I just want us to interrogate that further. But, Vivian.
Yes. Good morning.
Good. Good morning.
How are you?
I like that. I'm doing great.
Yeah,
Good
you're
to see
doing
you.
well?
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes,
doing okay too, and I am actually really excited about this particular day because there's a big game happening later on today, and I predict that Arsenal is going to lose. So there's a Manchester United versus Arsenal game later this evening, and yeah, my prediction is that Manchester United is winning. Please usiseme lolote, Victor, let me just go on. Welcome to the show. My name is Vivian Dagwa. This is Good Morning Kenya, and we are coming to you live from the broadcasting house. As usual, we are more than glad that you have decided to start off your day with us. Now, today being a Wednesday, you know it is women at the forefront. Victor is distracting me. It is women at the forefront, and we're going to be having a woman on set here today. She is a professor of early education, and our conversation will be on multiple intelligences, theory, and its impact on learning and advancements. You definitely want to stay tuned for that. Mike, good morning, and where are you putting your money?
Good morning to you, but I want to give Victor a chance.
No, wachana na yeye please. Isimtoke wacha ibaki ndani.
I'm not even going to end into that debate. But since Victor has a lot to say, but it's saving that for maybe tomorrow.
After the game.
But welcome to the program. My name is Mike. Always glad to have you on board. And I invite you to tune in to this live broadcast right here on KBC Channel 1. This is Good Morning Kenya. There's a lot in store for you, and as always, you can be part of this conversation by tweeting to us on X. We are at KBC Channel 1 on all our social media platforms. I want to start your morning with a quote. Every morning brings new potential, but only if you make the most of it. Every morning brings new potential, but only if you make most of it. How are you, Marie?
I'm very well, Mike, and how are you? I think Victor has something to say because of what Vivian said.
Yeah.
In terms of which team
Guys
is
have
gonna
really
win.
insisted that he needs to talk about this. I didn't want him to comment
Vivian,
on
I
it.
thought you said Arsenal. Did you say Arsenal is going to win?
No,
Manchester
Manchester United.
Manchester United beating Arsenal at home.
It's not possible?
Very possible. Today will be that day.
Aya, kama nilivyosema wakati huo mwingine, I am not a football fan except when there are major tournaments, so I shall not wade into that conversation. But a very good morning from wherever you're joining us. We're coming to you live from Broadcasting House here in Nairobi. My name is Maria. When top in the news this morning, Kenyatta University Hospital woos as board chair resigns. The entire board is disbanded and the CEO sent on indefinite leave. And 3,900 households displaced following the onset of rains. All that coming up in the news this morning, including business and sports. But we want to start with matters environment, where President Dr. William Ruto has commended the Kenya Wildlife Service for digitizing its services and increasing its revenues substantially. The president said the institution is now able to cover up to 87% of its budget, which has made it possible to undertake major projects to run its programs. President Ruto made the remarks during the passing out parade of 1,274 ranger recruits and cadets at the KWS Law Enforcement Academy in Manyani, that is in Taita Taveta County.
President William Ruto was in Manyani for the pass-out parade of 1,274 ranger recruits and cadets, where he commended the Kenya Wildlife Service for going digital, a move that has increased its revenue substantially. The head of state said the institution is now able to cover up to 87% of its budget and comfortably run its operations.
I commend KWS for achieving another commendable milestone, mobilizing sufficient revenue to finance 87% of its overall corporate budget through internally generated funds, thanks to the consistent improvement in efficiency and transparency.
The president emphasizing unwavering commitment to anti-poaching efforts, saying the measures have achieved remarkable success and saved a number of species that a few years ago were on the verge of extinction.
The exceptional young men and women before us have been carefully instructed, thoroughly trained, and are now entrusted with the noble duty of safeguarding Kenya's invaluable wildlife heritage.
The president pointed out that in 2020, Kenya recorded a zero rhino poaching cases, a landmark achievement, after years of battling corrupt and vicious criminal syndicate. The president said to mitigate human-wildlife conflict, the government has invested 2.9 billion shillings to address the impact of climate change, which has exacerbated conflict.
We have the largest contingent of vehicles that will be used by Kenya Wildlife Service. We have 98 vehicles that will be used by these young men and women to protect our wildlife assets and to manage our conservation spaces. Again, that is a testament to our commitment to building KWS as an institution that is going to support the wildlife sector and our national parks and game reserves.
On the human-wildlife conflict, the president said the government has introduced a digital fund administration system to ensure timely and efficient compensation for victims of wildlife attacks. The head of state challenging the newly recruited rangers to carry out their duties with dedication, courage and patriotism. Tourism Cabinet Secretary Rebecca Miano, who was present, said this year's trainees at Academy had the highest number of women in the history of ranger training.
For the record, our aim is to bring on board as many young women to the wildlife conservation space as possible, given that by nature, women are born and wired to nurture and to groom.
As the world marked International Day of Persons with Disability, that was yesterday, the government and non-governmental organizations have been urged to prioritize persons living with neurodevelopmental, that is, disorders such as epilepsy and autism, which have been termed as forgotten disabilities. The majority of them, that is, the people living with disability, are said to be facing discrimination and stigmatization, which hinders them from accessing available opportunities.
hapa waziri mzima, uko hapa MP mzima, uko hapa mheshimiwa mzima, na wewe una biashara, una ofisi, lakini ofisi yako mlemavu hata hawezi ingia.
Bungoma County was the host of this year's International Day of Persons with Disability. The occasion saw thousands of Kenyans with disability flogging Kibabii Stadium in support of the day, under the theme Amplifying the Leadership of Persons with Disabilities for an Inclusive and Sustainable Future. Labour Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua put on notice institutions that do not implement disability-friendly policies and infrastructure in their organizations.
Wewe ni mhandisi mkuu wa serikali, una design barabara. Ile barabara una design haina hata walkway, haina hata ramp ambayo inatumika kuweza kutumia walemavu waweze kutumia vizuri. Kuanzia mwezi wa 7 tarehe 1, maofisa wa wizara yangu watazunguka kulingana na sheria. Hata kama ni bunge hapa Bungoma, tutaenda tuweke mbao tufunge.
And in Nairobi, the day was also marked with the National Councils for Persons with Disability pledging to push for the introduction of a new Disability Act that acknowledges caregivers as first responders.
When the early interventions are done the right way from the foundation, then we are sure we are building a future of inclusive leadership that involves all the diverse impairments within the disabilities.
Every child deserves the opportunity to thrive, and it's up to all of us to create a society where inclusion and acceptance is the norm.
So if you have to give finances, I think it's important that you don't classify disability into mild, middle, or intensive.
This comes amidst a call to the government to prioritize those that have neurodevelopmental disorder and also set up disability centers in schools to cater for the group.
People think that there is a perception of how autistic people should look like. So people will be like, oh, you're not autistic. Then they're like, no, you don't look like one.
However, the biggest challenge remains the support, especially from our government and even the private sector, for the invisible disabilities. And like in Kenya, approximately 1.5 people live with epilepsy.
Still in Nairobi, education stakeholders are calling for the mobilization of funds to help learners living with special needs, noting that most of them are disenfranchised due to lack of assistive devices, hence limiting them in education and consequently denying them an opportunity to compete favorably in the job market.
So I call for more resourcing so that we can have more buses, not just at the Action Foundation, but for all other organizations that are delivering STEM training. We invite them to also think innovatively on how they can reach learners.
We will be doing testing to see how it works. The bus is adapted for students with disabilities who may be using wheelchairs or who may have mobility challenges.
Elsewhere, Mandera County joined the global community in celebrating the International Day for Persons with Disabilities with a focus on inclusivity, empowerment, and equal opportunities for persons with disabilities.
Thank you, Jaila Picha, for that report. Now, Professor Olive Mogenda has resigned as the chairperson of the Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital Board. In a statement issued by the State House spokesperson, that is Hussein Mohammed, President William Ruto has received and accepted the resignation that takes effect immediately. Other changes that have been effected at the referral facility include the disbandment of the entire board with immediate effect. Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital CEO, that is Ahmed Dagane, has also been directed to proceed on indefinite leave. Dr. Zainab Gura has been appointed to replace him in acting capacity. Isaac Kamau, who was recently appointed by the board as acting CEO, has also been recalled to the Ministry of Health headquarters. Health workers at the referral hospital staged demos on Monday, paralyzing services at the facility to the core. The workers decried a number of grievances, which include long working hours, sexual harassment, lack of uniforms and risk allowances, and a waiver of medical bills for staff in critical care departments. At least 12 flooded-related deaths have been recorded countrywide since the onset of the short rains that are currently pounding the country. Principal Secretary in charge of Internal Security and National Administration, that is Raymond Omolo, says over 3,900 households have been displaced. And as Wycliffe Okech now reports, the PS Omolo acknowledged the relief efforts spearheaded by the Kenya Red Cross, but urged for more humanitarian assistance from well-wishers to alleviate the suffering of those affected.
Felicitas is among the over 1,900 families that are seeking refuge here at Ogenya's Center for Displaced Persons. Felicitas has been camping here since April, and despite being expectant, she has had to put up with all the challenges here, including inadequate food and medical supplies, among other basic needs.
Hizi vitu za Red Cross mchana kuna joto, lakini ikifika usiku ni baridi. Sasa hiyo kukohoa, malaria ni kitu common tu, lakini ukirent nyumba na ukuwe na kitu ya mkono unaweza manage kulipa hiyo rent.
Felicitas lives in this makeshift structure together with her 2 children and other 2 ladies. 22-year-old Felicitas sat her KCSE exams in 2019, scoring a mean grade of D+. She has aspirations of becoming a lab technician, but financial constraint is the stumbling block.
Juu wazazi hawako na hiyo uwezo ya kunilipia college, ndio maana nilikuwa married, lakini hata saa hii nikipelekwa college bado nitasoma.
Just like Felicitas Otieno, many of the households here believe that with proper and significant financial boost, they are able to fend for themselves away from this center so that they can be able to stand on their own feet once again. Felicitas and her 2 children are among the over 3,900 households that have since been displaced from their homes by the ongoing rains, which have also claimed at least 12 lives countrywide.
It is not acceptable in this day and age that we have Kenyans stay in camps year end. And we have a responsibility to work closely, both national government and county governments, to address that concern.
PS Raymond Omolo says the government is pursuing both short-term and long-term response measures, which include construction of dikes along rivers and water streams, as well as establishing resettlement schemes for flood victims.
And as we try to have Kenyans stay away from danger, we do what it takes, but again we are appealing to Kenyans to work closely with all the leaders at all levels.
Omolo is at the same time urging for more humanitarian assistance for the flood victims.
Thank you, Wycliffe Okech, for that report. The Deputy Chief of Staff in charge of Performance and Delivery Management, Eliud Owalo, has called for caution in the adoption of artificial intelligence to avoid misinformation and disinformation during, driven by technology on social media ahead of the 2027 general elections. Owalo, who was speaking during the regional conference on use of AI, digital and social media in Kenya elections, said whereas the country cannot ignore emerging technological trends, there was need for players in the sector to safeguard misuse that can harm the nation's fabric. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who attended the event, however, called for urgent reconstitution of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IBC, saying further delay may plunge the country into a deeper constitutional crisis.
I urge those who are standing in the way of reconstituting IEBC to be able to see the bigger picture. They should set aside their narrow selfish interest in preference to the greater good of this nation. Please allow us to reconstitute IEBC as soon as possible. Please allow us. Anybody in Kenya today hearing that the Senate wishes to do with the live streaming of elections would just be surprised. Are we going backwards or forwards in this country?
There is risk of polarization, erosion of trust due to AI-driven misinformation, and potential voter manipulation. We therefore need to balance the risks and opportunities with respect to technology from an electoral process perspective.
We look at business now, where the government is in the process of streamlining complex licensing processes that have previously led to delays and inefficiencies to investors seeking swift entry into the Kenyan market. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi says the new reforms will help deal with retrogressive legislation to enhance Kenya's business environment and attract more foreign investment. Trevor Ngendo with the details.
Speaking at the 5th Germany African Business Summit, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi says the government is committed to discarding outdated policies and enacting reforms that enhance the ease of doing business.
We have to strike a proper balance between attracting capital and benefiting the Kenyans. Let us not have legislation that has become an obstacle to foreign direct investment in our countries.
Mudavadi says the government is making steady progress in deepening cooperation with Germany in labor migration, trade and investment, necessitating the need for the country to align its legal and institutional frameworks to make the movement of capital faster and unlock opportunities for young entrepreneurs.
These young people we are talking about, the 60%, they need jobs, not tomorrow, but today. So we need to have some very positive action. And I hope through these conversations, we shall be able to overcome such challenges, such barriers.
930 German companies are in Africa and invested in Africa and employ over 230,000 people in Africa. These are good figures, but not so good that we could not do better.
The 3-day summit brings together business leaders, policymakers and stakeholders from Africa and Germany to explore opportunities for enhanced trade and investment.
The animal vaccines to be used during next year's mass livestock vaccination exercise will be procured locally. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary says the vaccines will be sourced from Kenya Veterinary Vaccines Production Institute, and already the vaccines have undergone quality assurance, urging farmers to avail their animals for vaccination in January next year.
The mass livestock vaccination has been slated for January next year, with the government targeting to vaccinate 77 million cattle, sheep and goats. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Andrew Karanja says doses of the vaccines will only be procured from the Kenya Veterinary Vaccine Production Institute to reduce the vaccination costs.
We will be sourcing all our vaccines from this center, Kivavapi. So there will be no vaccines which is coming from outside the country.
These vaccines are produced in Kenya, and the Director of Veterinary Services undertakes quality assurance of all vaccines produced.
The exercise targets to vaccinate 22 million cattle against foot and mouth disease, 50 million sheep and goats against pest de petit rumina.
The program is premised on prevention is better than cure. It's cheaper to prevent the disease from causing infection in the animal, and it will be more productive and even earn you more money.
The vaccination exercise is part of the 15-year livestock sector master plan that plans to increase livestock production and increase livestock shipments to key destination markets.
The animals, we are able to safeguard our animals and also our human, and also make sure that we can trade with the animals and also the meat. And to do so, we need to create a disease-free zones or disease-free country.
The Vaccine Institute says the vaccination exercise will also reduce the use of antibiotics in animal health, in turn reduce cases of antibiotics resistance in humans.
A look at sports now, where the Kenyan national women's team, Harambee Starlets, thrashed Morocco 5-0 in the second international friendly match that was played at the Mohammed VI Football Complex in Morocco. Fasila Adhiambo opened the score for Starlets before Wana Halima dominated a brace just before halftime. Violet Nanjala and Elizabeth Mideva both scored in the second half to seal the victory. Wana Halima was also on target twice when Harambee Starlets drew 2-2 with Morocco in the first friendly match. Beg your pardon. Meanwhile, the Junior Stars are already in camp for the CECAFA Under-17 African Cup of Nations qualifiers, which will be held in Kampala, Uganda, from the 14th to the 27th of this month. The Kenya Under-17 football team is drawn with Somalia, South Sudan, and Sudan in Group B, with their first match against South Sudan. And KUTRRH Senator, that is Aaron Cheruiyot, scored a brace for Bunge FC in the warm-up match against Nation Media Group, but they narrowly lost the match 3-2. Bunge FC are preparing for the upcoming East African Community Interparliamentary Games, which are scheduled to kick off in Mombasa this weekend.
Bunge FC have played a number of build-up matches in preparation for this monthly East African Community Interparliamentary Games. And today they hosted the NMG football team, who narrowly beat them 3-2 in their friendly encounter played at the Ulinzi complex. Bunge's 2 goals were netted by co-captain Aaron Cheruiyot, who is the Senate Majority Leader and KUTRRH Senator.
I think we are very well prepared this year, more than any other year. We have a very good team that has prepared throughout the year. Most of our colleagues are very fit, unlike in previous years. We only have lost a few to injury. A few crucial players like Mheshimiwa Dan Wanyama and David Ochieng, who are normally in our starting 11, but unfortunately, due to injury, will not be playing for us. But we have very suitable replacement in new members that have come in and have fit into that space.
Despite the loss, the team has confidence in their preparations, having been in training throughout the year and have also beefed up their squad with more Kenyan MPs joining the soccer team. Bunge FC finished third in the last edition and now eyes a top finish, especially with the home ground advantage in the game set from the 6th to 18th of this month in Mombasa County.
Well, that's where we end the news this morning. Thank you so much, as always, for your company. My colleague Victor Lo is up next with The Viewpoint. My name is Marie Yambo.
Thank you for joining us on Healthy Living. Stay connected to Voice of America at voanews.com. A look at your kidneys and how they impact your health. And an expert discusses chronic kidney disease and how to protect yourself. And Ivorian psychologist Noor Bakayoko shares some insights on bullying and what can be done.
It's important to avoid major events or major health crises.
How do you know if your cough is due to a serious condition? We'll have some answers. Stay well
and strive to make every day a healthy day.
Friday night again. Greetings in the name of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the Positive Warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice, we
have to do it twice.
kwamba kila mara unapozungumza na mimi ni kunifananisha tuna Kabiru. Elewa kwamba mimi na Hashon na Kabiru watu wawili tofauti.
Mama ngwe unahisi kuchoka. Mwanzo kabisa ungehisi kuchoka na hii hulka yako mbaya mbovu ya kumleta kijana mdogo. Jamani, kijana mdogo tu kwenye nyumba. Na isitoshe mama.
As I was saying, unajua mimi sijaikuwa na dem tangu nizaliwe.
Acha kunichocha.
Sasa mbona nikuchocha?
Unisikia tena kwa makini ninayokwambia tia akili.
Idi hii ni Idi ambayo Waislamu hupata kila mwaka, na si kila mwaka tu, katika kila juma.
Sasa ukipata hii chance kuwaga siku ya Ijumaa, basi ni kwamba umependelewa kheri tena zaidi na zaidi na zaidi na zaidi. Ni kumwomba Allah siku zote ni kwamba Allah tupe mwisho mwema.
You're a stranger to the world, but you're an angel to me. And as long as God's above you.
No. Did you get any receipt?
Hapana.
Was there any acknowledgement?
Even the rest walikuwa hapo si.
Kwani nyinyi mnahusika na hii kesi?
Hapo dada moja akaingia akaripoti kuwa ameitishwa 200,000 kama hongo.
Mimi sikupokea kwa sababu ni kazi mimi
nilikuwa nimepokea unampelekea.
Simulisema nikuje niongee mambo ya ukweli mheshimiwa, na ndio hiyo.
Basi asante.
Na mtu akikuitisha hongo tafadhali ripoti kwa ofisi za EACC.
Alafu kitu kingine mheshimiwa, hii mwezi kama unaweza kuwa MCA wangu mheshimiwa. Wewe.
My name is Lewinsky Kipkalia, the little Mr. Africa Kenya. I am Mr. Popularity and the first runners-up. I won the little Mr. Popularity in Nigeria.
And look what I picked. In fact, we are going to read about some amazing women who walk with us in this world.
Thank you all for tuning in to another recipe. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make the yummiest chocolate chip cookies at the comfort of your home.
All right, welcome back. It's now 7 minutes past 7 a.m. Welcome back to the program. My name is Victor Low. Today being a Wednesday is always the viewpoint, and to take a look at issues that socio-economic issues, not politics per se, and it's going to run from now until 8:30. And I beseech you that you stay with me. Today we are going to be talking about something completely different. Remember, Kenya came from COP29. We have been a member for far too long. We also want to talk about the renewable energy in the country, as well as petroleum sector. And a lot of things are happening in that industry. We all know that energy is the driver of almost everything. Right? I got it right. My panel is in studio, and I'll be introducing them very shortly. So please talk to us on our social media handles at Victor Low at KBC Channel 1, and we'll be sampling some of your comments, answers, or even your queries at the tail end of this conversation. And today, I want to start by introducing Engineer James Ngomeli, who is the Secretary General of Africa Smart Meters Association. He is also the convener of Africa Queen of Energy Award. Ngomeli, karibu to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love this word, Africa Queen of Energy. The name, Africa Queen of Energy, yes.
Okay.
So are you the king? Are you the king of energy then?
He's the kingmaker.
He's the king. Oh, yeah, the kingmaker.
Maybe the kingmaker. I think so.
Queenmaker.
Yeah.
Oh, queenmaker. Yes, Ismail got it.
Yeah.
Ismail Saumu is the program manager, Kenya Climate Innovation Center. She's also Power Gaga Award winner. I got it right.
Yes.
Great to see you.
You too.
Ladies in the industry. And lastly, John Jogu is the CEO, Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya. Clearly, it's going to be an interesting discussion. Yeah. So let me just start by asking you, the only lady in the middle, how does it feel being in the industry?
Very proud. It was not tough getting here. It's a very complex sector, and
yes.
I always have to validate myself, but I'm very proud that I got awarded the Power Gaga Award of last year. It was like a testament of my achievements and the work I have done in the energy space, and I look forward to even doing more, motivating more women in the space, because I wish I had me when I finished campus, someone just to guide you and tell you where to start. Most people struggle with that, especially in this Gen Z and millennial generation. You are quite confused. Getting a job is difficult. You don't know where to start. So you are an engineer, then you go to ICT, then you say, when I get a job in engineering, I will shift. So you need like a mentor to guide you. So I'm happy that I've been able to mentor women in clean cooking under the GWNet. It's Global Women Network in Energy for Transition. And I've also been able to mentor businesses working at Kenya Climate Innovation Center, where we support enterprises that have innovation in climate mitigation and adaptation.
Great. James and Ngomele, you'll excuse me. Today being a Wednesday, it's ladies' night.
Yes.
And I had to do that intentionally. Ladies first. Otherwise, you should have taken it to some corridors that we will not have answers to, you know. All right, so allow me to start by asking you, James, because we are coming at a time when Kenya is going very strong on energy, you know, climate change, etc., etc. The president himself is on the front line on, guys, let's plant trees, and we have got a target as a nation. But let's start by asking you, what did you take home from COP29? Let's start from there first of all. We've had deliberations, we had our own event here in the country, we went to Baku, and now we are here. A lot of back and forth. So what did you take back from home, back home from Baku?
Thank you. I think what I feel is that Africa went there prepared to fight. And that's why the G7 countries gave it a wide berth. We were there going to claim that we need to be reimbursed. You are the people who have done this to our environment. You are the people you are meant to give us 4 trillion the next 5 years. You must commit to do this. And I think that kind of agitation did not work very well. It did not work very well out there. And when you see the biggest polluters, the G7, apart from Britain, who was there, not attending the conference, then it means that there is something that is not right, happening. So I feel that our strategy was not cohesive, and the Africa countries, I think they need to sit back and reassess how they confront as a united front on the global stage on issues on climate change. I don't think, to me, where I sit, we don't owe anyone anything. And to me, they don't owe us anything. I think we can rise up as a continent. And I think what I was expecting to see is that the way we have a global movement of planting 15 billion, I think we want to plant 15 billion trees in that. I was expecting a collective agreement with the Africa Union that will plant 5 trillion or 10 trillion trees in the next 5 years. I was expecting, I expect better collaboration in transmission of power. I'm expecting better collaboration in area of oil and gas and mining. Instead of everyone drilling, can we drill on one side and transport it across the regions? So those are the things that we expect as a continent to see what we can do. But when you go there, you want to borrow. You are not exploiting your own resources. You find yourself in a
but perhaps that is
probably
you can
situation.
say that the G7 is aware where Africa is. So it would be a deliberate attempt to have that kind of a bottleneck.
Yes.
Because they are the biggest emitters, actually.
Yes.
So when you look for the losses and damages, look at it this way: Africa is still suffering.
True.
Yeah.
But you know, this whole conversation is always about countries' interests. Everybody is there looking for their own interests. And what you see, if you look at the global outlook, globalization is scaling back. We are all going back to regions or to country cocoons just because of the way economies are evolving.
Yeah.
So right now, trying to get people together and saying, you will pay for this and you'll pay for that. Every country, I think, is struggling. You've seen the kind of catastrophes that many countries are having to face, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in the US. We have a war going on, actually several wars going on. So I think when we were going to COP, we were saying, look, you committed to 100 billion every year, which we have not even been getting anyway. And Africa, when they're saying it needs to go up tenfold to about 1.2, 1.3 trillion. And I think the nations, the northern hemisphere was like, okay, we don't even have this money. We're also trying to fix our own issues. And you're here asking us to give you all. So I think that conversation has left the bus. And we started seeing a decline of COP from 27. I think it started going down. Yeah. And that might actually accelerate as we go forward. Yeah.
Are they afraid of anything? Ismail?
Not sure.
The big boys.
Maybe they don't have the funding. Everyone is looking for funding. But also, I feel like doing COPs annually is not realistic. Do we measure impact on an annual basis? Can we make it like do it after every 3 years? Because like planning for COP annually is expensive, and have really people made any significant impact in 1 year? Yeah, just to go and present. And when we meet after 3 years, we present real data. Yeah, when you go to COP, is a lot of discussion. Like you never get to know where we are at. You rarely get to have a discussion on what you have achieved so far. Yeah, but the future is bright.
The future is bright.
Yeah.
You know, as Kenya Climate Innovation Center, what did you pick from there?
There is a lot of interest in the climate space. That is a positive for us. So we are hoping for more investments in the energy space, especially e-mobility. There is a global traction for e-mobility in most countries, really. I do a productive use of energy program in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. And for example, in Tanzania, 90% of three-wheelers make up the motorcycles in Tanzania, and 96% of them are not electric. So it shows you the potential for e-mobility in East Africa, really. People are willing to transition to EV. People are open to a more sustainable means of transport. Yeah.
But, you know, we're like the Israelites. We are okay with where we are. We're okay with where we are.
Yeah.
When the campaign to go e-mobility is gaining traction, I would say. James or John, you'll agree with me in this. You're a culprit. But the aspect of embracing it is what is now lacking, because we are used to the status quo. So it also becomes a bit expensive even for the government, all stakeholders, to push it and do more, a little bit of rigorous campaign for people to accept it.
Well, I think that's not particularly the case. people are driven by cost anywhere. If you look at even the history of oil, when Americans were making muscle cars in the 50s and 60s, in the 70s when there was the oil embargo, what happened?
Yes.
They dumped their muscle cars and they started buying Japanese cars because they had smaller engines. So people are always driven by cost. What has happened is for EV adoption, e-mobility, in the countries where it has grown, except in China, which, well, also in China, government has really subsidized that exercise. But here in Kenya, like the price point for an EV, although it has been coming down, it started at around 12 million. Now it's about 6 million. So I think it's a cost issue that has made people, give it an arm's length. However, EV is going to be driven, especially in Kenya, by two segments: the two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and the PSVs. Those are the ones that will drive it going fast. And I know we'll talk more about that as we continue.
And what's the reception?
I was talking to the Matatu Owner Association, and we were having that discussion because I represent Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya, and we bring together local investors in the petroleum industry. So the guys who've actually put up the infrastructure for petrol stations. Currently in the country, we have about 4,800 stations. That's the official figure. However, because of other, pumps that are here and there, the actual number is about 6,188. So we represent about 70% of that space. And so we were talking to the Matatu owners and saying, look, you guys have about 200,000 buses and PSVs.
Which again is one of the biggest polluters around.
And they're interested in, they've tested, there's been a proof of concept for e-mobility on the bus space. You've seen the likes of Basigo, I think Rome. Right now we have about 40 buses on the road. But get this, because of the interest, now the Matatu owners have put up a firm order of about 800 buses to come in by between May and June next year. So we are seeing a very huge reception. And I think when we begin to see that direction, that might accelerate the adoption of EVs, especially on that PSV space. Although there are still a lot of challenges that we'll have to deal with, like where do you charge them? Do we have capacity on the grid to charge all these vehicles when we are still dealing with energy access? Currently, 1 out of 5 Kenyans does not have electricity. We are close to 80% electrification. We have countries like Morocco and the rest that are over 100%. So we still need to get some people power who have never even seen electricity. I think we saw the president in Taita Taveta talking about the power projects, because especially people in the peripheries, they do not have electricity. So we are still grappling with energy access. So do we take that and transition our mobility while we still have some people who have not yet accessed? So there are those challenges to work through.
Which we'll talk about later.
And I feel the e-mobility drive is mostly in the urban areas. People are not penetrating the rural areas because of the energy access, of course, but also job opportunities, like the unemployability is also driving the e-mobility growth in the space, because most youths want to try out the EVs and there are people issuing them on loans. So it becomes affordable for them and creating a job opportunity for them. But if we can be able to manufacture some of them locally, because most people import the parts and assemble them in country, if we can open up like the manufacturing, the charging stations to reach rural areas, it can unlock a lot of job opportunities.
Great. James, what do you make of that?
I think, just speaking on what she's saying, manufacturing, how many jobs is the e-mobility and the transition generating for this country? And I think those are the discussions that we should have with the government on the policy side. If we are going e-mobility, are we creating more jobs or are we losing more jobs? And I think this is a catch situation that it has found most countries, like the UK, scaling back. Germany is scaling back. US is scaling back on the e-mobility because they're looking at the impact of it as we go on. However, to me, I feel e-mobility in Kenya has just been left to, it has not been taken up as a government project. It's still handled by private equity funds, you know, some guys sitting abroad somewhere. And I think the government should take it as a project. Over the weekend, I think one of my relatives took those buses from Kitengela, the EV buses, and she talked about it the whole day. you know, I mean, it's a feel good.
Unique. Well, you're in traffic and you see a very big thing.
Yes, and there is a feel good.
The experience. You know, it won't be driving an EV will not be the same as driving an ICE. An ICE is an internal combustion engine. So when you hear me saying ICE, I'm just trying to save our time here. But that is what it means. So when you drive an EV, and it's like you're driving your phone. So the experience is very different. So what will happen is, I think, as time evolves, and people experience it. And I think what Ngomeli said is right. Government has done quite a bit, because one of the things it did on the regulator side, they put up the tariff for EV, which is a very good incentive, which is at half the price of peak, you know, so you can charge at 8 shillings per kilowatt hour. And that's good, especially for the buses, because they can charge at night and then they save a lot of money doing that. So the regulator is doing their side. We saw the Finance Act giving some concessions here and there. So we are seeing some tax incentives, although we would want to see a bit more, like Ngomeli is saying, where there's hand-holding from government to lower the barrier. I liked the project that the president started, I think it was last year, but one, when he just came into power, and there was the issue of bringing in 200,000 motorbikes, which were EV bikes. And I know we have those supply chain issues here and there, but I think government has started doing something. It can do more.
The question is the sustainability, because you'll begin, and then along the way you experience some of the bottlenecks that actually will curtail the progress.
That is why you have to let the market pull it. You get what I mean?
Yes.
So instead of it being driven by just government policy, it needs to be market driven, where actually as a consumer I go to the shop and I choose an EV over an internal combustion engine, whether it's a bike, whether it's a tuk-tuk, whether it is a four-wheeler, whether it's a bus. When that begins to happen, now it does not need a lot of government hand-holding. And I think the costs are beginning to come down, and we'll talk a bit about that because of what China is doing. And that is, I think, what will make EV explode, especially in Africa.
I want to talk about the renewable energy. I don't know why my tongue is slipping there. Renewable energy. So what % of Kenya's energy is renewable? Ngomeli?
I think maybe you can say 70. We generate
80. More than 80%.
83% is generated.
Yes.
Is that a good percentage?
It's good, considering during weekends or off-peak we run at almost 90% renewables. So it's good. It's just that there is the issue of intermittency and reliability, because all these renewable sources have different ways of being generated, and they're all feeding into the grid at different voltage rates. So it affects the intermittency and reliability of the grid.
Okay. I have a friend of mine who perhaps does not understand what renewable energy is all about. Just explain. I don't try to say him or her.
I'm not the
basic language.
I'd say renewable energy are energy sources that cannot be depleted. Like solar, for example, it's always there. Let me say that. Something like wind, they cannot be depleted from just the term renewable. Yeah, for me that's the simplest way I can explain
Are
it.
Kenyans really embracing renewable energy? Ngomeli, because when you look at Africa's smart meter, the government is quite so strong on last mile connectivity, all right? But the aspect of renewable energy is also catching up with people. Perhaps the aspect of, the costs and running it. What is the uptake and the rush to embrace it?
Actually, there's a big uptake of renewable energy, and I think now I think we sit at around 500 megawatts of renewable energy being produced across the country by various players. It's all the captive power. What do you call it in Kiswahili? Where people are generating their own power. Self-generating power.
Yeah.
It's reached around 500 megawatts. That's nearly a quarter of the demand of power. And it shows that there is investment now going into substitute sources of power, especially for maybe manufacturers. Now we are seeing all those people used to consume 1 billion a year. They have really put in projects. Yeah, they have really put in a lot of money, and there is a lot of funding coming to ensure that we reduce the level of consumption and billing through electricity in the country. However, from there we go to the farming communities. To me, that's where the game changer should be for this country, because renewable energy is an enabler to run agriculture. And agriculture in Kenya contributes nearly 40% of the GDP. We have seen very little investment in government in that sector. I have a conference on Monday. And I think when I call agriculture to come in the meeting, they say, no, that's an energy forum. Yet energy is the biggest enabler in agriculture.
Let's take a break, because you've started having it. Agriculture, again, is the backbone of this country.
Yes.
You cannot run away from it. Let's take a break. And you come back, you're going to pick it from there and explain to me what really happens when the biggest consumer does not respond to a call. Agriculture. Good. Let's take a break right back.
All right.
Idi hii ni Idi ambayo Waislamu hupata kila mwaka, na si kila mwaka tu, katika kila juma.
Sasa ukipata hii chance kuwaga siku ya Ijumaa, basi ni kwamba umependelewa kheri tena zaidi na zaidi na zaidi na zaidi. Ni kumwomba Allah siku zote ni kwamba Allah tupe mwisho mwema.
You're a stranger to the world, but you're an angel to me. And as long as God's above you.
Kinyanjui, labda ni papa.
Man, what is that? Shame on you.
Julia, why are you smooshing your phone?
Ay, Kamene. You've never heard of cryptocurrency?
When I will ask if I have heard about it.
I expect to get 50,000 in return. So, when am I expecting to get my money back plus the profit?
Maximum 7 days.
Hey, I am the luckiest. Angie, asante sana for your telling me singing no.
Signs. Telltale signs.
welcome back. So, I remember when we were young, my dad came with a very small solar panel and a battery. And we would watch a television, and the only station we'd watch way back then is yours truly. Yours truly.
That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here. Great. So you're talking about the uptake and about the renewable energy and the biggest consumers, Ngomeli. Continue from there.
I think I was discussing an area where I feel that if the government can be a bit serious, I think we have a very big potential in the agri-sector. And she'll speak about it shortly. But what I'm saying, I've seen a neighboring country like Uganda, and she has good statistics. Agriculture, rain-fed agriculture, can be accelerated faster with solar energy. It is a no-brainer in that sector. Storage of products that are coming from the farm, we still have the biggest, one of the biggest post-harvest losses. 30 to 40% post-harvest. You will see the rains now. You wait in another month, you will see pictures of tomatoes in Nyandarua still rotting. At this time and age, where you can bring containers that have, they are solarized. In fact, these are the projects that would like every small ward has got 2 or 3 containers that are solarized, that farmers can store their goods. Maembe inakuja January Ukambani. We will sell all of them for 3 bob. I can assure you that. Yet containerized, these things can be kept for some time until a market until we find a market. So to me, Nairobi to Mombasa should just be containerized spaces where products can be kept and at the right pricing.
They are released into the market.
They are released into the market on the road. This is, and when I hear aggregated, industrial aggregated centers, to me those are the most important as the basic aspects. In Maembe and January, I can guarantee you that we don't make money in Maembe unless you have sold off season, maybe November, because you have water. And anyone with water, which is pumped through a renewable source, makes money in November, because a mango is 15 to 20 bob. But now when it floods, then the February,
the price collapses.
2 bob, 3 bob. You come and, the other day I bought a mango in Naivasha. I knew these mangoes are from my area. Nainunua Billy 15 bob. Now, how much did you get it from the farm? Honestly. So you see, and I think also technology also. At this time and age, Kenya, we cannot produce a water pump. In fact, you will tell me, I don't understand why we don't have water pumps. We import 100% of water pumps in this country. Na ni wire tu, unashikanisha wire tu kidogo. Universities can do it and produce. Maybe she can't.
Go ahead.
You can also use recycled materials to make the solar water pump. I've seen it happen in Uganda. So I think there are people uptaking renewable energy, but there is the question of the economic sustainability of this project. And that is where now KCIC comes in. We are doing a productive use of solar energy project in agriculture in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, just to unlock the potential of agriculture. And we have piloted the solar water pump, cold storage, just to tell the farmers only believe when they see another farmer using the technology. So we give financing to one farmer to purchase the technology, then we track on the impact, we collect data from them, how much revenue you've made, the carbon mitigated jobs you've created, and then we go to other farmers and tell them this is the impact from this farmer from using this technology. But I feel there is still a need for financing in that space, because people think most of the technologies are in pilot phase, which is not true. The productive use of solar energy technologies are past pilot phase. We are looking at scaling them up. And from next year, we are launching a program called Distributed Renewable Energy Ecosystem Model to scale up the adoption of solar energy in dairy and horticulture value chains in Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania with funding from the Mott Foundation. So we are looking to unlock cooling in the milk value chain, solar drying in horticulture, do solar water pumps, solar milling, all those appliances out there. Yeah, so we welcome partnerships. We have success stories like in Uganda, how we have changed the lives of farmers from solar dryers. A farmer, we installed for them solar dryers. They have now diversified into many produces of mushroom. Who knew wine could be made from mushrooms?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wine.
Yes, wine.
Well, that's a first.
Yeah. She's making wine from mushroom. And it's because you provided her a dryer.
Yeah.
She's able to like test other products she can make from the mushroom the mushrooms she's harvesting. Then she has she's now aggregating from other farmers, so like creating opportunities for other women farmers. And they tell me that the money she was making from chicken rearing is way lower than what she's making from the mushroom. Like she's now making 3 times what she was making doing chicken rearing. Now she's able to take her kids to school and do other businesses, yeah, which is good.
I mean,
yeah.
John, when you listen to Ismail talk, she's spoken so fondly about our neighbors.
Yeah.
Then it means that there is a very big problem or a gap in terms of embracing it.
Yeah.
And Ngomeli is talking about buying 2 mangoes at 50 shillings and he near the neighbor.
And Uganda import mangoes from Kenya.
From Kenya.
Yeah.
So then what is the policy of renewable energy in Kenya?
Well, I think first of all to add on what both of them have said is, first of all, this is more of a hybrid energy, renewable energy and transition is going to be more of a hybrid. So it's traditional energies working with renewable energies. So for example, as they're talking about solar pumps on the farms, but we still use jembes.
Yeah.
Think about it. So what we've seen countries like China, Vietnam and the rest do is that they mechanize that jembe and they have a very small machine that uses petrol, right? So it does the digging, you know the kind of digging you do with your jembe, but now you do with that small, it looks like a lawnmower, and that's what you do. So as solar power is pumping your water, even you on the ground, you're able to do more because you're not using the 100-year-old jembe or 1,000-year-old jembe to do your farming. So they have to work hand in hand. It's not going to be just one side and the other side is left. So these working hand in hand between existing energies and the renewable energies, or what we call non-renewable and renewable, is critical for us. So that I get to what the policy is. I think the work of policy is to create an enabling environment. That's all they do. And I think when you go to the regulator, for example, our regulator is the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. They've said we've created a robust framework. So we have regulations around solar installers. We have regulations around LPG. We have a guideline for even green hydrogen. We have so they'll tell you, for us, we've created the environment that you need. It's now for you to step in and use. And for us, what we are doing, especially in the petroleum stations, what we are doing, we are solarizing our stations. So we discovered all stations have canopies. So those canopies, we can put solar panels. So we've put solar panels on those canopies, and now we are powering our stations through solar. And because petrol stations also offer livelihoods in small communities, when you have solar on that petrol stations, people can come, they can charge their phones, they can access some services that they would not, e-citizen services, you know, they can do their KRA and everything in the village just because there is power around a petrol station. So it's that harmonious working. And I think our regulator has been very robust. I think we have about 14 regulations. and they all create an enabling environment towards that side. I think on the executive side, we've seen the president leading the way. For example, we have what we call national determined goals, which we signed up, I think, in the Paris Agreement, where we said we'll reduce our greenhouse emissions by 32%. And what that meant was by 2030, our grid should be 100% renewable. Another area where I think we are seeing a very strong policy direction is on clean cooking, because we still have the majority of Kenyans using firewood and biomass. 60%, yeah. Now we are seeing an uptake of LPG. Why? Because the government has launched the LPG growth strategy. The government has, I think right now they are investing about 8 million cylinders to release to Kenyans below the line. Those are Kenyans who cannot afford the cylinders, so that they can also start using LPG. So it's energy is so broad, government can do it alone. So it's government and us in the private sector. And I think it's important for me to mention here that I'm also the vice chair of the KEPSA Energy Board. So I sit very closely at regulation and policy level to see what decisions government needs to make to help the private sector move forward.
Okay, so let's come back here. We've talked about the issue of manufacturing, and Kenya is not so much into that. You know, and that is where we are headed. Ngomelebi, you appeared before the Senate a few weeks ago.
Yes.
And you are put to task by the senators, chaired by Senator Wahome Wamatinga, who said that there are no approved standards by EPRA. So does it mean that we are consuming substandard goods in the country in terms of meters and all that, which are also prone to tamper or whatever it is?
I think there are some regulations that you cannot deny there are no regulations, but where are the regulations that can spur investment? You know, I would like us to be in a situation where when you put this regulation, ask yourself, is it creating jobs? And if you can look always at that level, this regulation, is it going to create jobs tomorrow? This tender we have put in the papers, will it create jobs? You know, that's a question Kenyans we must start asking ourselves. This 1.2 billion tender, how many jobs is it creating? And half of them you'll find the only job it's created is for clearing and forwarding. 3-4 people. Yeah, and it's a billion and billions of Kenya shilling. So this is just patriotism. And I think there's nothing else about that apart from patriotism.
Yeah.
For example, the metering. At this time and age, we should be manufacturing our own meters.
Do we?
Ethiopia is doing it.
Do we?
Yeah.
Do we?
No, we are just assembling and bringing in. We are bringing in components. The last 5 years, we have imported not less than 5 million meters across the market. It has not employed more than 200 people. Right together. The next few years we are importing, and this is why we started Senate. The next 2-3 years, there is importation of nearly another 5 million meters. If nothing is done, it will still employ the clearing and forwarding people only. But if we can intentionally create manufacturing in this country, and this is a question that we ask ourselves, the same people who develop these documents to go for tender, the same people who come out in the market and ask, can you employ my son? Yet the things you have put in the tender cannot even employ one person.
Yeah.
You are importing a billion things, a billion shilling thing, and it's not going to generate any employment. You go to the neighboring countries now, they are actually intentionally looking at how, if this thing is going to be imported, next year, you must guarantee that it will be manufactured in this country.
Is it because of the quality? We are a bit hesitant about the quality of what we produce locally.
It's not quality. Let me tell you, we have the best quality. Those are just things that are put to camouflage, to import a lot of things. Let me tell you, we can absorb the quality we have and we improve on it. Yeah? We can absorb, and this country must learn how to, you take what you have and improve.
And just like every other country has. And really to help, to also add on to what Ngomeli is saying, I'm very concerned about our manufacturing sector. When we did our Vision 2030, we had said that by 2030, manufacturing need to contribute towards our economy 15 to 20%. Just like what you see in South and Asia, the economies we try to mirror. And those ones are about 22 to 25%. Do you know what has happened? In that time, our manufacturing has actually gone lower. In 2015, we were at 12%. Today, we are at 7%. And I was talking to one of the industrialists, and they were telling me they can project that by 2030, we might actually be at 2%. Why? Because we have not set, we have made Kenya a supermarket. Yeah? Because it's easier to be a merchant. Bring something, kimbia China, kimbia Turkey, kimbia whatever, come, flip the product, make and those things don't create jobs. If we want to create jobs, we have to make things here. Every importation is importing poverty. Any product you import, you've not just imported that product, you've also imported poverty. So as long as you see our importation bill growing up, also our poverty bill is growing up, because there are things that we can make here that do not need to cross the border to come here. And I think that's a critical thing. And the way we tie it to energy is this. When we look at our energy mix, 51% goes to industrial, right? It's industry. They're the ones who are consuming that power. But that power is not enough. An economy of 55 million people with 3 gigawatts, we are playing.
But this also comes with the PPP. I mean, when the government is not going strong on supporting local manufacturing or even assembly of the smart meters, then it means that you can have PPP. Is it working?
Things can work if you are patriotic about your country. And I think this is where the passion of your country, and if everyone can put his head down and say, policy, how many jobs will this thing create? This tender I'm going to put on the newspaper tomorrow, is it going to create jobs?
Have you floated that proposal paper?
Of course, we are in discussion with Senate, and I think they will have we are now meeting stakeholders. But I think that is a mentality that we must start developing. And you see, the other day, we were approached by our members, and one was saying, I tried to go and borrow money to do a project, local project. So from where he went from the bank manager to the CEO, there was nothing local in that office. So how do you expect him to listen to you when the curtains are from this and these ones are from this, the furniture is from this, even everything he's wearing is not local. So if you look at him, there's nothing else. So you are telling him you need 15 million to do something. He's not going to listen to you. He's not going to listen to you. So to me here it's about how do you encourage local manufacturing this, and those should be the KPIs of the cabinet, and all those should be the KPIs. Universities, they are producing laptops. What is a meter? What is a meter? What is a water pump? Those are basic things that a third year electronics people can produce. Every household, this at River, it could have even more than 300,000 water pumps, just getting water out to farms. This Tana River, water pumps, 100,000 water pumps, getting water out to farms around there. To me, those are the basics. Those are the basics.
It reminds me of what Ismail said, that a majority of people still presume that we are still in the pilot stage. So whatever you have there, wait a minute, that's still a prototype. The real one is not yet. The real one is somewhere. So you have the proposal, the paper looks so good, then okay, ebu tuone hii kitu kidogo inakaje, this looks good, okay, so we'll talk next week. Only to find your idea being replicated somewhere and it's made, quote unquote, better. Ismail.
That has really affected the enterprises we support. They come up with innovation. Like we have enterprises that produce packaging materials from pineapples, from bananas, but people still prefer importing packaging materials. So I wish the government could like promote the consumption of like our local manufactured produce, because I might have a very good innovation, but if there is no customer willing to even try it, how am I going to improve on it here?
But also, Victor, when you look at why are we importing? Today we are having an energy discussion. 30% of your input in Kenya, if you're a manufacturer, is energy. That's a terrible cost build-up. Kenya has the most expensive power in East Africa, right? So Ethiopia is at 5 US cents per kilowatt. Tanzania is at 12. Uganda is at 18. We are at 21, 22. So I heard the president the other day commending Tanzanians for having overtaken Kenyans in terms of producing goods and services. And there you have your answer. If power is cheaper in Tanzania, I will move to Tanzania. You even if you do your research, you realize it's the same Kenyans who are now producing in Tanzania and selling into Kenya. Why? Because power in Kenya is expensive. Until we sort that issue and power becomes reasonable, nobody will manufacture anything in this economy.
What is EPRA doing about it, Ngomeli? Because, I mean, it has to get some approval.
You know, it's just a cost of production.
Yes.
That's a key issue. We borrow heavily to finance. To finance energy projects. And this is where we really need to think where do we borrow our money. And right now, as a trustee, as a former trustee of pensions, this is an area now the government is trying to look. How can pensions, and we are taking now the idea to government, come and take this pension money. And let's do these big projects with this pension money. Let's have a framework of this pension money. Ghana electricity sector, it was financed by the pension industry. And the pension has 2 trillion, and it just sits in government bonds. Yet that money can be used in projects. And so EPRA has when they do their maths, you find the leeway is very little for them to lower, because there are already costs that are inbuilt in the production of power and ensuring that the industry is sustainable. But if the costs can come down of borrowing, or we just come and tell pensions, take this 50 billion loan that we took in dollar form, take it in currency and start, and we will be repaying you through the electricity bill. Those are things that can work. Most countries' infrastructure projects outside there, they are now being developed by the local pension funds in those countries. So I think that's an area that we can see. And secondly, is following up with what he's saying, the government should be involved in the whole sector driven.
Yes.
The government, we must eat what we produce. Whether our good is expensive, and this is what we told even the Senate, it does not mean that our meter is cheap. No. In fact, our meters we produce locally will be more expensive.
How different is it from what we currently have?
If we produce our meters locally, it will be expensive. The labor and all, you cannot compare with one from China. You cannot compare. But the local one will be expensive. But you see, it's expensive, but it is employing. You see, that's a difference we must start making in this economy. We must eat, that cost we must absorb as a country. The Germans are here. There is a German Africa conference going on. Who has brought them? It's the German government. The whole German government is here. And when you see any country coming here for a trade mission or a trade week, who is behind them is a full government. And they have tried the products. You see, now they come here with new technologies. Those products have been tried in their country through government sponsorship. Yeah, you find coming saying we are launching them, they are saying this is a good thing. It has been made good because the government has the proof of concept has been done in that country, and the government has absorbed all those costs of trying those products. Now they are ready to come to Kenya and market it in this country. So I think those are the areas we just have to be very patriotic. Our goods are not cheap. The chair being produced on Ngong Road, it's not cheap. You can import. You can import. But
you are right.
Yes, but you can import from China. But we must buy that chair from Ngong Road because it employs 10 people.
Yeah.
You know, Gomel, even I was thinking the other day, we have Eveready. We used to have Eveready.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's call it like that.
And I need to fill your cups. I need to fill your cups.
Okay.
That would mean we have to take a break.
We have to take a break. When I come back, I have to go back to that point.
Very, very true. Yes. And I also want to talk about the Queen, Africa Queen of Energy Award. I mean, can I apply? Or because I'm not in the energy sector, I'm not eligible to participate in that. Okay, let's take a break. We'll be right back with more. Stay with us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye-bye to FOMO, the fear of missing out, by downloading the KBC Online app that gives you access to everything you love. Get the latest news, sport, music, entertainment news, live radio, and so much more at the palm of your hands. To get the app, simply search KBC Mobile Digital App in your Google Play or App Store and download the app. Catch what you want, anytime, anywhere. Stay connected. Stay ahead with KBC Mobile Digital App.
Friday night again.
Greetings in the name of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the Positive Warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ KUTRRH, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice, we
have to do it twice.
Kwamba kila mara unapozungumza na mimi ni kunifanisha tuna Kabiru. Elewa kwamba mimi na Hashon na Kabiru tu watu wawili tofauti.
Mama ngweko unahisi kuchoka. Mwanzo kabisa ungehisi kuchoka na hii hulka yako mbaya mbovu ya kumleta kijana mdogo. Jamani, kijana mdogo. Kijana mdogo tu kwenye nyumba. Na isitoshe mama.
As I was saying, unajua mimi sijaikuwa na demu tangu nizaliwe.
Acha kunichocha.
Sasa mbona nikuchocha?
And welcome back. So we continue this discussion today evening. It's an interesting one. You were submitting something, John. Continue.
I was saying we used to have Eveready, and I think it's still in the stock market. However, look at how important battery technology right now is in the transition.
Yeah.
Think about if that company was supported and they went in to support the solar, they were building storage technologies.
Yeah.
That would be a powerhouse, an African powerhouse. But now, it was left behind, and now we cannot do that. Look at, we used to have Yana tires. They used to make tires. It doesn't matter which kind of vehicles you use, whether internal combustion or EVs, they all have tires, you know. So those are jobs that we lost that we could have kept here. But let me segue a bit and talk about what is happening in the mobility space. It's a hybrid discussion. Kenya has chosen LPG as a transition fuel, and has said, as we transition to, because the future is electric, what are we going to be doing in the intervening? So as the petroleum industry, one of the things we've done is to adopt a technology called autogas. How do we use LPG to power vehicles? We've seen it work very well in other countries like Turkey, where 7 million cars are using LPG, where somewhere like Poland, where 3.5 million vehicles are using LPG, somewhere like Hong Kong, where fleets are using, in the US. LPG is cleaner and it is cheaper. So it supports, though it is not a renewable energy source, it's a cleaner source. And it allows us to start traveling that trajectory even as we get to fully electrify. Currently, we have about close to 20,000 vehicles that are using LPG here in Nairobi. We are talking to county governments to see how that goes out to other counties like in Mombasa, in Kisumu, in Eldoret, in Nakuru, because there is now a demand. And we are seeing, it started with taxis.
But the cost is now on the conversion.
It's not a big cost because you make back your conversion cost through savings in about 3 months. It's about 60, 70,000 to convert. I have friends who have converted their VXs. So it's not just a cab affair. We are seeing schools. Now schools can import petrol cars because they can be converted and they use LPG. You are now seeing stations. When you travel on Ngong Road, whether you're in Kitengela, whether you're in Ngong, whether you're in Kiambu Road, I mean, now stations are coming up, and we want to commend Kenyans. And what we are doing, we've created something called the Autogas Alliance, which we are doing market development together as players in that space, so that we can educate Kenyans. I've seen you're driving a German machine. That German machine can be converted, and you'll be paying half the price of what you're paying. Yes.
What about the issue of safety? What about the issue of safety? Because we've had so many gas accidents, explosions.
And actually, that calls for now the education about it, the sensitization about it, even in handling it itself.
Let me say this: that accident. First of all, we have not had many cases, and that accident was a case of an illegal refilling site. So it was not a proper set-up site.
The one that happened somewhere in Eastlands?
Yes, at Moradi, and we had already flagged it as an illegal refilling site. And our work now is to educate the public. Even these cylinders you have, get a cylinder from a certified place, whether it's a petrol station, whether it's an authorized distributor, and it must have a seal. These ones that you just go and get and you don't check, they've been refilled in illegal refilling sites. And an illegal refilling site just means somebody is refilling a cylinder that does not belong to them. Because according to the law, if the cylinder is brand X, the owners of the brands are the only ones who should refill it. You get what I mean? But if somebody else picks that and refills it, that becomes illegal. And that is why we are seeing a lot of challenges there. But we are trying to clean that up. If you look at the autogas stations we are putting up, they are state-of-the-art stations, and they have gone through all the safety standards that have been given. We worked with KEBS. KEBS has standards for safety. And, you know, LPG is going even into houses now.
Okay. So you've raised something. I mean, let's talk about accessibility. Because you can access quality gas. You can go to any petrol station and pick, a quality gas because you can access it. But to that person, it's already 9 p.m. Kids want to sleep, and my neighbor has a store somewhere in his shop, and which is connected. You know how they're constructed. How are we making sure that some of these things that we are consuming are standard? In this case, you have certified refillers who are doing probably company X, so that when you go to any outlet randomly on your way to Naivasha, Kitale, whichever it is, you can drop anywhere, pick a gas, and you know it is legit.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a good question, and we are working very closely as the industry.
Yes.
The petroleum industry works as one, and we are working to, number one, educate the consumer. I think we're also seeing a layer of technology where now you have gas delivery apps, where if you order that gas through that app, you are sure to get a legit refill. So it's a combination of efforts, you know, it's a combination of efforts to try and clean up that, because we expect the goal for Kenya is that by 2030, every person should be using about 15 kgs of gas. Currently, we are at 6.57. So there's a lot of work to go there to support the transition journey.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Great. Okay, let's come back to here. Ngomeli, African Queen of Energy. Tell me more about it. You joke about it that a queen maker.
You know, this is a program that we started 9 years. We are on our 9th year. And it came about from my experience, the privilege to lead the reorganization of Kenya Power, where I was exposed to 14,000 employees at that time, leading a change, strategy, restructuring of the company. And one thing that really came out was the women were very subdued in that organization. And even when you tell them apply for these positions, they will not apply. When you ask later, you'll be told those are not our positions. Then coming out, I get into a big project, energy project, as a consultant, and the project just collapses on our hands. And you realize one of the biggest challenges in this project is that the men went to discuss in the shopping center about the project, and the women were not involved at home. So when the project implementation started, I mean, they could not hear none of it. So the project just collapsed in front of our eyes. Even with the president's intervention, it just collapsed. It could not work. Thirdly, also, you see that we have got a very big access to power. Access to energy is still one of the highest in the region. But you see the demand is very small. There's a huge population left out in this. And this huge population is a women. And so we started developing, we came up with a platform. Can the women tell us their stories? What can they tell us their stories of success and hope and challenges? So we started an award program. And I really want to thank the energy sector players, and especially the parastatals in the energy space. They came in and supported that program. It's on its 9th year, and when I speak even in conferences, people look around to see whether there is a UN or what, or those bodies. No, it's just a local solution that was developed, whereby the women can come out and talk about what they do. How do they influence the communities? And I think one of our winners is here. And I'm sure that that award has really helped her in positions.
Allow her to speak for herself.
Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself about it.
I'm very grateful for the award. It was a huge motivation for me, like someone recognizes the work you've been doing in the space, and it empowers you to even achieve greater heights. Because when I won the award, I was just a program coordinator. Now I'm a program manager. So it has made me go for bigger opportunities. Like you said, women don't apply for positions. I will only apply for a job if I feel like I meet 100% of the qualification. Unlike men, if I only meet 10%, I'll submit my application. But for us, I have to make sure I qualify for that position before I apply for it. And that's why you find that when you like do a call for a position or a call for application, very few women will apply if there is like even one point that makes them feel they do not qualify. So when we are doing call for applications at KCIC, we use words that encourage women to apply. So it has been a great motivation for me. My LinkedIn connection has really grown.
Ever since this initiative started?
Yeah.
What is the turnaround like? I would really like to get from the women perspective. Yes.
So I won the award 2023, December. And from that, my LinkedIn connection was around 1,000. Now I'm at almost 4,000 connections, and it's because people are reaching out to me. People are reaching out to me. They want to know like how I won the award, how they can apply the award.
Yes.
I mentor women in clean cooking or in the energy space. So I've been motivated to mentor more people, and also women who have just completed university degrees on where to start from. And I feel like I can apply even for a CEO job because it really empowers you when someone recognizes the work you're doing in the space.
So Ngomel, how does this initiative actually accelerate development in our country? Because when you look at women in the energy sector, a majority of people will say, hey, you wachia wanaume. The way she's saying, but now many women are coming out and embracing the industry, challenging men out there. I am challenged because I'm in this industry. This one. But then, what is the uptake? What is the acceleration of development as we speak? How is it accelerating development?
I think this program, what it has done, because when it looks at, the award looks at how do you influence the ecosystem. Yeah, it looks at what is your influence. It's not about your PhDs and what. No, but how do you influence the ecosystem around you? And I think it has helped to validate some of the work these women are doing. And they have received a lot of funding for these opportunities. For example, there was a lady... Which
you are not associated with?
Which you are not... No, we are not associated with.
Okay.
Yeah, we are not associated with. And for example, there's a lady in Makueni. She won a community award because of the forest program she was doing.
I see.
She was doing. And I think last year, the president went to plant trees in our project. Yeah, so, and she called me, she told me, can you attend this? You know, this thing, I was picked by the county because of what we are doing. And the president was there last year, I think, when we planted trees in Makindu. That was in our, in our project. So I think it just opens up, it accelerates opportunities, and it validates what many of them are doing. We have got others who have gotten support. Now, like Nora Magero, she's gotten support. Now she's one of the biggest players in the region in developing the products that she's producing. So most of the winners who have won these awards, I think most of them, they have multiplied their effect across different sectors of where they are sitting. And they have continued to influence. Even in the career growth, they have continued to influence. And when we started this award, it was a local. Then we moved to Uganda, Then it looked at then during COVID now it became a Pan-African project. And the other day there was a program there was a big energy conference in Rwanda. In fact, the organizer stopped in Nairobi to see me and tell me, James, we have not had, I have only heard about this program from the conference I was. How can we work with you for the next conference? Because there's no other big program, platform recognizing women in the energy space in Africa. We've managed to build Rwanda, we helped them build. South Sudan, 3 years ago, I think I took the biggest delegation of women from South Sudan.
That is...
To Ghana.
From South Sudan?
To Ghana, yes, 32 women to Ghana.
Okay.
Yeah, to learn about the oil and gas and how to, and the empowerment.
What about Kenya? Let's come back home.
Yes. I think there's been a lot, energy transition has really helped to bring out a lot of opportunities for gender mainstreaming in the country. And I think what's important is that Now I'm seeing a lot of women coming out and putting documents with a kind of support. Every winner has gone out of our way to ensure that it mentors and supports other women across. Now we have over 400 applications. We have never had a big application for this year's award. We have nearly 400 applications. And it shows that now people are confident, the market is confident, and people can be able to say even the 20% that they do, they are able to say.
John, what are you doing about this? I mean, this is a huge movement. This is not just an event, it's a movement.
It is, and I think at least we work closely with Ngomeli. And one of the ways even we are discussing to expand is to look at even students. Because what is happening is that the universities are releasing students who are graduating from the energy space, and they are looking for opportunities in Kenya, in the region, or even in Africa or outside. And one of the things that I believe the other phase of these awards will do is to be able to elevate that platform for students. Because it's to look at, we live in an environment where you're usually asked, what is your experience, what have you done? And that really pours water on your efforts. And you've been doing engineering for 5 years, probably you've done a project here and there, but a platform like this elevates these students and exposes them to the world of energy and allows them to be able to dream, whether at home or abroad. So that's what we are doing with him.
Okay. But we have opened it up now. We have the Africa Renewable Energy Awards that opens up now to everyone. Although it's not as detailed, we are just trying to test the water. But we are seeing a lot of support from the men applying, organizations the men are leading applying. So it's really, energy, there are never stories. It's just panels and panels and windmills. So there's never that story. And to me, that is what we were taught in school. Yes.
So, Ismail, anytime you go out there for mentorship, and you look, to their faces, and you see these young or even old, bright women who have ideas, what do you see in them? The motivation, what do they lack, and what drives them?
I think, they lack guidance mostly, guidance, because in this space, if you don't have someone to handhold you and guide, you can easily lose track, especially in a very competitive space like the engineering, specifically energy sector. So for women to climb the ladder, it can be challenging. So you need someone to guide you so that you don't get frustrated. You can easily get frustrated. But what I tell them is just go for it, because sometimes missed opportunities hurt more than...
I know. You'd rather try. You'd rather try.
Yeah.
It's quite important.
So try.
Yes.
Yeah, just try and do your best, because perfect your skills. Like I tell women, make sure you're very good at something. Perfect your skills, create that need, so that when I sit on this table, let me be the smartest woman. If I'm the only woman, let me be the smartest at something. And because someone cannot take away.
That is deep. A friend of mine called Kevin once told me, Victor, be known for something. Be known for something, so that whenever they need something,
it's just
a speed dial. Oh, call John. Oh, call Ngomeli. Let's look at some of the key pillars, Ngomeli. I mean, this is a movement. So what are the key pillars? Yeah.
I think what is this movement, we really look at how do we promote good, how do we promote good work? How do we put the good work there? And we look for also the consistency. I think the consistency is a very important aspect of it. And also we look at how do they get rewarded by various platforms. And I think one of the things about my conference is that we invite even the people who have never spoken. Sometimes I get even the girls who have left school. Come and speak. I've got hundreds of people who want to speak, but sometimes you give the students come and moderate a session. By the time she finishes moderating, by evening, after 3 months, you looked at her LinkedIn, is a very different person. She just needed the opening. And this is a sector sometimes where this sector sometimes lacks that happiness. You know, I look for that happiness. You know, I was brought up in the energy space where when you connect a customer, there is tears, there is a santi mwanangu. The joy. But when you leave, sometimes this sector has no joy. You know, and yet we impact the world so much, but there's very little joy in things. So you find these are very few events whereby you find people crying with joy on stage. Very few events in the energy space I've ever come across. So you find now these are the kind of pillars that we try to build, and we try to open up opportunities for people across the region. Yeah. Okay.
I have a question here. As we wind up, I have a question here. This question is related to you, Ismail. That why is climate finance still a thorny issue? I think because you're quite in that.
Yeah.
Why is climate finance still a thorny issue?
Enterprises are told that their financing is available, but they don't know how to get it. And if you don't know how to get the financing, that's when you think there is no financing. But the financing is available in the climate space. You just need someone like KCIC to guide you through which type of financing you can apply for, because not every enterprise is qualified for grants or debts or equity. So you need guidance. Yeah, but the financing is available. You just need to talk to the right people to guide you on how to get
John,
it.
this is another question for you. This is a gentleman called Kijana wa Pastor. What are you doing to the outlets selling adulterated fuel? We've had that a lot of times. We have got outlets, either there is pilferage of water into the tanks or whatever it is. So what are you doing to the outlets selling adulterated fuel?
Thank you for that question. I think I've been seeing it's a trending issue. And what happens is usually when there rains, because sometimes tank inspections and all that don't happen as often and they're expensive, you find that there is seepage. And when seepage happens, that is when you can fuel and get some water in. But what the industry is doing, we work together with SGS, who go around and they test to see whether there is water in, and if they realize there is, then they can act quickly on it. So first of all, let me apologize on behalf of the industry for those ones who have gotten their engine messed, either they fueled and they fueled water. I think let me apologize. I don't think there is anyone who opens up petrol stations for the purpose of destroying somebody's car. Let me assure Kenyans that we are looking into this issue together with the regulators and the players themselves, and we are hoping to resolve it as quickly as possible. However, where there is adulteration, I think EPRA is doing a good job to go around and clamp down, and as an association we are helping them to make sure that that vice does not grow as much.
Great. And finally, so what are the categories, Ngomeli? What are the categories? Categories, when is the event?
Yes, the event is on December 9th at Movenpick, and there are various categories. So there are categories. We have got a technical award, non-technical award, we have the research award, we have the innovation award, we have community award, we have Power Gaga for the young people under 30. Yeah, there are various categories. Community engagement, innovation is there, yeah, and there is now the non-technical, yeah, and there is a philanthropy award, yeah. So these awards just look at how you impact the ecosystem around you, and we are very glad that now these awards are Pan-African. And various countries are hosting theirs now in their countries with our support. The Nigeria, the Francophone countries, they are hosting their own in Gabon next year. So I think we have brought in a system, a way whereby now there's a way women in the energy sector can talk to government. There was a time there could not be a discussion across Africa. And I think we are very proud of the progress that is being made across.
And it's open for all application, anybody can apply.
It's open for anyone who has who is in the energy sector.
Registration fee?
There is no registration fee. It's open. but I think the registration's closed, I think on Friday or something like that, yeah?
All right.
So now, but you can come and see and celebrate and see new heroes being there. I think that's what really makes me very happy, when you see new heroes.
There's a gentleman called Martin Jero. He's asking me why there is no media award.
There is no?
Media award. You talked of community award and all that.
Yes, yes. I think we put, there's one for photography, I think they see, but there's also an award that is run by the ministry journalist, Ajay, is called Ajay.
So you've answered, Martin.
So I think there's always something, but it's good you're asking, because this sector doesn't have stories. This sector is starved of positive stories that can inspire, people to use. And you see, it's about people. You know, even sometimes you asked about, it's not about panels, it's about people.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's...
we need journalists to tell the stories in the energy space.
So you can apply. Martin Jero, wherever you are, you can apply and tell a story. Thank you so much. All right, John Jogu, CEO of Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya, and the only lady in the middle, Ismail Saumu, Program Manager, Kenya Climate Innovation Center. She is also the Power Gaga Award winner. And finally, Engineer James Mongeli, Secretary General of the Africa Smart Meters Association. He's also the convener, actually, of that Queen of Energy Award, which will be happening next week on Monday at Move and Pick, if I got it right.
Yes.
Great. What is the farthest that you've gone riding? On a motorcycle?
On motorcycle?
Yes. Have you ever gone to South Sudan?
I'll be going there soon. But I've been to Busia. I've been to both corners of it.
But he's a rider. He's a rider. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for watching. We'll take a break. GMK continues after this.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mtazamaji, tumekuandalia taarifa zinazogonga vichwa vya vyombo vya habari kutoka hapa jijini Nairobi na pia mashinani.
Wanahabari zaidi ya ubora wao wako ange kukuletea habari pindi zinapochipuka kutoka pembe zote za Kenya.
Kwenye kipindi cha Tamrini tunakuletea mazungumzo ya moja kwa moja kufafanua na kuangazia masuala yanayokuhusu wewe mtazamaji.
Kumbuka, taarifa yenye thamani daima hupokewa kwa amani.
Hivyo basi usikose kuungana nasi kila siku ya wiki.
Tukupakulie na tukutaarifu taarifa yenye mnato kwenye runinga unayoienzi. Kwenye kurunzi mashinani,
sisi DC.
Thank you for joining us on Healthy Living. Stay connected to Voice of America at voanews.com. A look at your kidneys and how they impact your health. And an expert discusses chronic kidney disease and how to protect yourself. And Ivorian psychologist Noor Bakayoko shares some insights on bullying and what can be done.
It's important to avoid major events or major health crises.
How do you know if your cough is due to a serious condition? We'll have some answers. Stay well
and strive to make every day a healthy day.
Kinyanji, Captain Papa. Man, what is that? Shame on you.
Julia, why are you smooshing your phone?
Ay, Kamene. You've never heard of cryptocurrency?
When I will ask if I have heard about it.
I expect to get 50,000 in return. So when am I expecting to get my money back plus the profit?
Maximum 7 days.
Hey, I am the luckiest. Angie, asante sana designer for your tell ni singi no.
Signs. Tell signs.
Nilikuwa naomba tu kwenda kumtembelea Jasiri.
Ati?
Mafuta kazi.
Na nani?
Mbora.
Kodi zalipwa kila siku. Itakuwaje hakuna dawa?
Hospitali imefungwa.
Kwa nini imefungwa?
Pikipiki posta. Tena utabaki hivyo na kuendelea kusema mambo ya watu.
Mimi ndio mwanzo na mwisho.
Kwamba kila mara unapozungumza na mimi ni kunifananisha tuna Kabiru. Elewa kwamba mimi na Hashon na Kabiru tu watu wawili tofauti.
Mama ngwe unahisi kuchoka. Mwanzo kabisa ungehisi kuchoka na hii hulka yako mbaya mbovu ya kumleta kijana mdogo. Jamani, kijana mdogo. Kijana mdogo tu kwenye nyumba. Na isitoshe mama.
As I was saying, unajua mimi sijaikuwa na dem tangu nizaliwe.
Acha kunichocha.
Sasa mbona nikuchocha?
Tena uko makini, ninayokuambia tia akili.
Na Idi hii ni Idi ambayo Waislamu hupata kila mwaka, na si kila mwaka tu, katika kila juma.
Sasa ukipata hii chance kuwaga siku ya Ijumaa, basi ni kwamba umependelewa kheri tena zaidi na zaidi na zaidi na zaidi. Ni kumwomba Allah siku zote ni kwamba Allah atupe mwisho mwema. You're a stranger to the world, but you're an angel to me. And as long as God's above you.
All right, and we are on. Thank you for staying with us right here on Good Morning Kenya. My name is Vivian Ndegwa, and right now we are getting into a different conversation than the one that Victor was having with his panelists. We are going to be talking about multiple intelligences. How many intelligences do you know about? You know, there are several. There's the linguistic intelligence, there's logical or mathematical intelligence, there is musical intelligence, there's interpersonal intelligence, there are many other intelligences, and today that is what we will be covering, and that is multiple intelligences theory. And we are going to look at it in the sense of how it gets to impact assessment and also its impact on learners. And that is the conversation that we'll be having today. It's going to be an interesting one, as my panelists are already here with me. I have three lovely ladies on set with me, and I will allow them each to get to introduce themselves to us, beginning with my far left. Kindly introduce yourself to us.
Hello. Thank you for having us this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
My name is Lilian Mutegi. I'm the founder of Uptake. Uptake is an inclusive digital company in the early years education, and we are happy to be here.
You're welcome. Next, right next to her.
Hello, Kenyan American, Kenyan people. I'm Jackie Chen. I'm professor of early childhood education in Chicago and Erickson Institute. I came to Kenya just about 2 days ago as a Fulbright specialist in education. And this program is sponsored by the Fulbright Specialist Program, a World Learning Program, and also supported by American Embassy, and in collaboration with a local charity organization called Standi Sa Maisha. I really have a wonderful time yesterday, and I'm so glad I have an opportunity to meet all of you today.
Welcome. And right next to you, Doctor, please introduce yourself.
Good morning, Kenyans. We are delighted to be here.
My name is Dr. Rachel Majiro Kamau from Kenyatta University, a senior lecturer, Department of Early Childhood and Special Needs Education.
All right, and there we have it. Those are our three lovely ladies who will be our panelists of the day today as we get to talk about multiple intelligences, and I'll dive straight into it. Maybe Professor Jackie, you can take this one. When we talk about multiple intelligences, what exactly are we looking at?
Well, thank you for the questions. I think the first thing, and I want to ask you, or ask all of us back, and what do we consider as intelligence? Usually when we say, oh, Vivian, you are very intelligent, what does that mean? We usually mean, well, as an anchor, and you are very good in linguistic intelligence. You communicate well, but also you probably have very strong interpersonal intelligence because you need to understand the audience as well as our guest speakers, right? But let me ask you, are you also good at fixing things? Are you also good at competing marathons? And I'm not sure, but for myself, I know myself, and I'm very good in the logic, mathematical intelligence. I usually thinking about something very logical, one step and after another. And but I'm terrible in spatial reasoning. And when I go to some place, I get lost so easily. So, and I think, and we all know that, and in our in life, we're not good at everything. We're good on something and not on other things. However, the traditional view of intelligence is not thinking this way, but rather, and we're considered in the traditional view of intelligence, and there's a general intelligence. You're either smart or you're not very smart. So we call the G factors. This G factor is usually generated by few narrow intellectual abilities, particularly linguistic intelligence and mathematical intelligence, and measured by, we call it IQ tests. Okay, and then, and further, this kind of IQ or general intelligence is innate or stable throughout your life. In other words, if your IQ is in 120 or above, you are smart. You are really likely to be successful in schools and in life. On the other hand, if your IQ is 80 or below, well, very much, and it is unlikely you're going to thrive in your life, and you're in need of intervention. So it is in this kind of a traditional, and Howard Gardner, the professor of human development at Harvard University, proposed theory called theory of multiple intelligences. And I fortunately have been working with him more than 30 years. So what the theory of multiple intelligence is all about? First is the definition of intelligence. Intelligence is only a potential. We all have these potentials, but whether this potential can be realized depends on the environment. Okay, it has to be activated by the environmental impact or by the cultural opportunities. And the intelligence is manifested by the ability to solve problems as well as produce or create products. There are 8 intelligence Howard Gardner proposed. As you just mentioned, linguistic intelligence, logical mathematics intelligence, music intelligence, bodily kinesthetic intelligence, and spatial intelligence, and naturalist intelligence, as well as we call personal intelligence, which include interpersonal intelligence as well as personal intelligences. Some people say, oh, did Gardner propose and the 8.5 or 9 intelligences? The point, I think, is the key here is not how many intelligences, although Gardner proposed this 8 intelligence is truly based on his studies of human brain as well as an synthesis of very different fields, including sociology, biology, and the psychology, and so on and so forth. The key issue is that intelligence is pluralistic. It's not just one general thing.
Yeah.
We all can be smart in many different ways.
Yeah, so I get it. How different, you know, the difference between the traditional way of viewing intelligence and the multiple intelligences theory is quite obvious that the traditional way, we really just quantify intelligence, and we're not supposed to do that because, as you started by saying, everyone is good at something. You know, so you're not supposed to be boxed as to whether you're smart or not, simply because, you know, with the traditional way, that's how we look at it. Someone is either smart or not smart, but someone can be good at something, you know, and I love that way, or I love how this theory explains that. It's a good way. So probably to you, Dr. Dr. Rachel, rather, when we talk about this multiple intelligence, how does it address individual learning, you know, differences?
Thank you very much for the question. And one of the problems that we have been having is that we have been looking at intelligence as just one component.
Yeah.
And we have been expecting that everybody should perform in a certain manner. And that is why we have been giving even assessment tests or national examinations and grading everybody according to the criteria. But here we are saying that, you know, as my professor said, you know, we all have, our fingerprints are different.
Sure.
And we are gifted differently. We have different abilities. When it comes to the classroom situation, we are supposed to identify those abilities. And we have a program we call Individualized Educational Program, where we are supposed to plan. If you see something, a student is good in music, or in arts, or in leadership, or even in academics, you can come up with a program that is going to help that child to nurture or to develop their abilities. So it is possible that in a classroom, you identify the students that have various abilities and you come up with a program and you nurture their abilities.
Yeah. And I want to pick up on that and pose this question to you, Lillian. You know, she's mentioned that it is important for, I'll call them educators, as yourself, you're an educator. It's important for you to just get to realize the potential of each student. Do we have that capacity? You know, I'm talking, when I talk about that, I'm talking about as Kenyan educators, have we been given that capacity in that you are able to be in a classroom of around 30 students and you get to identify the strength of each student?
Thank you so much for the question. I particularly love that you've been able now to bring it back home. Unfortunately, I would say no, not yet, but I think it's a work in progress. In particular, the new curriculum CBC is a big champion of multiple intelligences. The deployment of it maybe would be a question that we could be discussing, but the idea is there because it advocates for personalized learning, and whereby now the educator is able to tailor specific individual learning paths for each student. But now the challenge comes, a classroom has 50 or 90 students. Ideally, it's impossible to cater to the individualized learning paths, because ideally the teacher is supposed to identify, give different tests, like ideally this one is good in music, this one is good in linguistics, storytelling, this one is good in sports. So now that makes it easier for the educator to be able to pinpoint. But now the case that we have now is really different and difficult to identify that. But I think if the willpower is there, from a lot of stakeholders, including to put the government of Kenya on the spot, Ministry of Education, employing more teachers, because statistically the teacher-student ratio cannot allow for that to be deployed to its optimum. But CBC is helping because now at least with every assessment, teachers are able to pick out, you know, even from competition, this one is good in storytelling, like yourself. I'm sure you'd win a storytelling contest. For sure. Myself, I would win something totally different. So I think now it is able to identify talents and curate individualized learning paths for different students. But also I think also when it comes now to even social cues, I think also empathy should be there as well. I remember back in school, I would consider myself an average student, not bright and not slow. If I could say that, but then
you can see the look that
I
Professor Jackie
maybe we'll talk about it, but let me explain it in a Kenyan context. So I wasn't very good in sciences and mathematics, but that is the number one. Back in my then old curriculum, that was the number one cue to say you are a bright student. So I used to score low, and I was told my future will be null and void. I will amount to nothing because I'm not good in this. But the skills I was good at that are now even making me earn a living, like business skills, nobody owned them, nobody sharpened them, I was told. So now you can imagine now what it has affected a lot of children growing up. But we thank God for the new curriculum. It's pushing students to know you're good in sports, excel in that. You're good in math, excel at that. So I'm really happy with the new times. I wish I could go back to being a child, but it's okay.
And I'd love Professor Jackie to also add on to that. You know, what strategies maybe can be used to address that, whereby educators have the ability to just, you know, single out every particular child or student in a class and be able to let them excel in what they're good at?
I think you talk about reality, and I think in a country's economic level certainly makes a difference. In the United States, and frankly speaking, we have more materials and teachers are better trained. However, I think, and I'm so glad to hear that we here at the government and started proposing new curriculum, emphasize competence base, use MI theory as a conceptual framework, because the most important thing is your mindset. Okay, you have this mindset. We're not all same. We're not just generic intelligence or stupid or mediocre, and we're different. If you have that mindset and you look at your students, will be different. Okay, so that is the first and foremost things, and we need to recognize. So students like you and have a different abilities, like myself, and I'm something. And if you ask me to go, take a whole team to go to somewhere else, I take them to nowhere. Okay, then Jackie is so stupid and just could not do it. Okay, but I need to find some different ways to help my students to get to the destination. Okay, so that's one thing. And the second, I think we can use lots of local materials. Okay, and commercial, rich, colorful materials are important, but it's not the only materials we can use. And I worked with Howard Gardner. We produced a book called MI Theory Around the World. We document in the countries like rural China and Colombia, and some places are very economically and dated. However, local teachers, once they have this frame mind, this kind of mindset, they use lots of local materials to help children develop their own potential, their own intelligence. And also, and the parents and the peers and the community all can put and work together. It's not just one school can do everything alone, but if we get the parents working together, even just cooking at home, and it involves so many different ways of thinking about science, math, and the talking each other, communication. So there's multiple intelligence already being used in the cooking, in the selling in the market, and how do you communicate with the customers? How do you convince them your goods is the best, the most in the healthy and the freshest vegetables? All these things can be used multiple intelligence. It is not just in schools work.
That's very well put. And now to you, Dr. Rachel, you know, as a senior lecturer at the Kenyatta University, probably where are we going wrong in terms of our educators being able to identify, or well, to better identify, because it's not like they don't, maybe just to upscale it, you know, in order for them to be able to identify and nurture, you know, students in the proper way, in terms of them allowing them to just excel in what they're really good at, and not measure their intelligence by simply them failing in mathematics or sciences, you know. And I know Lillian has mentioned one of the challenges we have is the student-teacher ratio. So what more needs to be done rather on that, or where are we lacking in that?
Thank you very much for that question. It's very permanent, particularly at this age and this period in Kenya. Special needs education in Kenya was started after the Second World War, after we had people from the army who became physically disabled and the others were blind. And we have been moving on very well. We have got the different categories of schools. We have the Kenya Institute of Special Needs Education, which is key. And then we have the universities where we have introduced degree programs in the area of special needs education, and Kenyatta University being the first university in Kenya to start the degree in special needs education, and especially even in the area of gifted and talented. But now we are saying that we have introduced the competence-based curriculum. And this competence-based curriculum is supposed to highlight or to emphasize that people have different abilities. It does not matter. As my friend has mentioned, that she was not good in sciences. I was not also good in sciences, but I managed to move on. And I always encourage my students, do what you are good at, because it is recognized in the world, it's applicable. So what we are doing now with the competence-based curriculum that has been introduced in Kenya is now that we are not going to grade everybody according to other people. And we have this program that we have the My Portfolio. My Portfolio is the document that where you are going to record the performance of every student. And in that My Portfolio, and Studies of Maisha has come up now with a software, study software in the area of My Hybrid Portfolio. You record what you are good, whatever you are doing and whatever you are achieving, you record it there. So now that is what we are supposed to use every term, every semester. Whatever you are doing outside in the church, in the community, should be recorded in that program or in that document, so that we can look at what are you good at, what are you capable of doing, and then we can start nurturing, as we are also going to identify diverse ways or programs in the future. And that is where we are going. So we are already, our teachers have already been involved. They have started the program. We are in the 8th grade, we are going to the 9th grade. So we are doing quite well as a country, and we hope that our teachers will be able to identify those areas. And now, as you said, of course, the ratio of teacher-pupil ratio is too high in Kenya. And we are talking about an individualized program. We need to identify, we need to emphasize that the teacher should be given the knowledge and the skills of how to use My Portfolio, so that they can identify and come up with individualized educational programs for those areas, because all of us have different abilities and we are capable of contributing to the society according to our abilities. We do not have to be, good in all areas. And that is where you are here, you are there. There is somebody who is taking the program. We are here, we are different, and we have different abilities, and we should be able to be enhanced, or should be given the opportunity to do what we are capable of doing at any given time.
And maybe just still to you, Dr. Rachel, what other challenges would you say are there when it comes to the implementation of multiple intelligence-based sort of educating?
The problems are, as we said, the teacher-pupil ratio.
Yeah.
And also the skills and the knowledge that our teachers have currently. We have to emphasize, we have to make sure that we give them the knowledge and the skills and how they are going to use them. And we also have to make sure that we educate the parents and the community, that the parents should get involved. And so that even the peers, I talked about the church and about those other community activities. And unfortunately, also, we do not have enough resources to provide, to enhance or to nurture various skills. For instance, we need laboratories. And you have been hearing what the government is talking about, that they have to come up with the laboratories where, you know, people with the various skills will be able to demonstrate. Like that, this is this room, that's maybe somebody who is going to be a speaker or an orator, or, you know, even the musicians, the drama, the people who are good in the drama, you know, we need to have all those facilities and also specialists in those areas so that they can now come up with the programs that are going to help people in their special intelligence areas. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, on that note is where I'll want us to take a break, but don't you go too far. When we come back, I would want to know, probably from Professor Jackie, how do we go about assessments when it comes to the multiple intelligence-based programs? Because we're talking about every person has their own strength in different things. So how do we get to assess them? Do we give different assessments? Do we give the same assessments as it is done right here in the country? When we come back, we'll be answering that, plus a lot more concerning multiple intelligence theory. Don't go too far.
Nyanji, labda ni baba. Man, what is that? Shame on you.
Julia, why are you smooshing your phone?
Ay, Kamene. You've never heard of cryptocurrency?
When I will ask if I have heard about it.
I expect to get 50,000 in return. So when am I expecting to get my money back plus the profit?
Maximum 7 days.
I am the luckiest. Angie, asante sana for your tell ni singi no.
Signs. Tell signs.
Kwamba kila mara unapozungumza na mimi ni kunifanisha tuna Kabiru. Elewa kwamba mimi na Hashon na Kabiru tu watu wawili tofauti.
Mama ngweko unahisi kuchoka. Mwanzo kabisa ungehisi kuchoka na hii hulka yako mbaya mbovu ya kumleta kijana mdogo. Jamani, kijana mdogo tu kwenye nyumba. Na isitoshe mama.
As I was saying, unajua mimi sijaikuwa na dem tangu nizaliwe.
Acha kunichocha.
Sasa mbona nikuchocha?
Welcome back, and we are glad that you are here with us. Now, before we took the break, Dr. Rachel had touched on some of the challenges that the multiple intelligence-based teaching program may be experiencing. So maybe, Dr. Chan, you wanted to add a bit onto that before we get into the assessment way of this program. So if you can just add on to that.
Yeah, Dr. Rachel and also Lilia and they talked a lot about the challenges and the way Kenya and the face. And the first thing I think they both talk about is the large classroom. Okay, and just being realistic, and no single teacher can handle 70 or 80 students and still individualize the teaching. That's just a reality. However, I think a teacher needs to recognize that, and the teacher is not the only person that students can learn. Students can learn from each other. In other words, if we can really have learning divided into small groups and different kind of differentiated abilities or different interests, and students can learn from each other. I think that is one very effective way to solve the large classroom issue. Okay, and the second thing I want to talk about, I think we all clearly understand the importance of identifying different strengths. But we cannot just stay there saying, okay, well, and Vivian, you're very good in linguistic intelligence, even though you really do not know anything about math. That's okay. It's not okay. Okay, as students, we do want to help our students learn how to read, write, and calculation, and basic scientific concepts. So here I want to introduce a concept of so-called bridging. Bridge from the area of strength to other areas of learning. And here I want to give one example that I personally experienced. And one time I was in a classroom and this teacher told me that in her classroom at the beginning of the year, there are so many students identified so-called failure school at risk for school failure. Okay, in other words, their test score is low, they don't know how to read, how to write. However, when we work with teachers to introduce so-called mechanical learning areas, this one particular student, his name was Tom, and he was just so skillful to disassemble and assemble all the materials and also know all the names of different tools, whereas other children living in Boston have no idea what this tool is called, let alone the function of different tools. So what the teacher did was ask this child to create a so-called tool dictionary. In other words, each child who needs to borrow tools and they need to know what this tool is all about. So this child, Tom, and with the help of parents, and wrote each tool the name and draw the picture, and then wrote the description of the tools. So in other words, teacher helped the child bridge his area of strength, mechanical and fixed things, to areas of reading and writing. So concept of bridging is a very important part of it. And the third thing I think we really need to avoid is to use MI as a goal, like a decoration, like a Christmas tree. Okay, in classroom, I have this center, that center, and I have areas of and the music, and put the music as a background. No. Okay, and the MI is a tool, is a view, is a lens for us to think about the teaching and the learning, assessment. It's not just say, oh, we have little areas. That's not enough. And the teaching is for understanding the deeper concept, understanding the rules, the society, and being a public citizen. Okay, and the last thing I want to emphasize is what Lydia said, and the government's role. Okay, and this is a beautiful time where our government is really think about competence-based curriculum. And then we need to give schools and teachers some kind of flexibility, not just always follow the sequence of the curriculum and every step. Give teachers some kind of flexibility to create their own, based on their own observation, own discovery. So teacher can notice what student's strengths and wonder how she can work with colleagues to create an environment to promote these different ways of learning and doing and succeeding.
Yeah, so you've actually touched on the assessments when you were discussing these other challenges, but probably just are there particular frameworks that exist when it comes to assessing intelligence?
I think usually when we think about assessment, we think about assessment and the teaching are two separate tasks or entities. But in reality, good assessment and the teaching should be two sides of the same coin. In other words, you are teaching and learning, and at the same time, you are assessing. What does that mean? It means that authentic assessment and intelligence is our way to solve a problem and to fashion products. So what would be the best way to assess these kind of abilities is through observational-based assessment and portfolio-based assessment. It might not be possible, as Dr. Rachel said, and we'll create some kind of a computer generalized tools. And that is a kind of a survey, self-awareness of a kind of instrument. I think that is the beginning of we can create and self-awareness of your multiple intelligence profile, but that is not sufficient. The real assessment, a real knowledge about a particular child's intellectual potentials or abilities really has to go through their ability to solve problems and really create some products.
All right. To you, Lillian, maybe there could be someone who's watching and they're getting what we're saying, but then they're wondering, okay, you have this classroom with a number of students in it. Everyone has their own strengths, but now when it comes to giving out the examinations, because there's that, you have to do an examination test, the tests.
Yeah.
When you come to doing the tests, how do you go about that when we are pushing for the MI sort of program or MI-based programs? How do you go about assessing them? Do you say that this one is good with linguistics, this one is good with music, so we don't give them the mathematical, exam? Or how do we go about that?
I think, like we said, it's not about grades, and I think also I'll just go about the CBC curriculum. I mean, the assessments are there, and we have like formative, summative assessments that learners get to go through a certain academic year that now helps even the teacher to identify now even the strengths, both in grades, both in other talents and skills.
Yeah.
So ideally, but then again, they also have to be holistic. So they also have to learn all these other subjects. So I think the emphasis here is not about the grade levels in particular for every other subject. It's because they have to do it. It's in the national examinations.
Yeah.
It's about now identifying even other core skills that this learner has that have been captured throughout the academic year. And it's good also to know there are innovations that are also even coming up and schools are taking that can track all these talent and skills and also grades. And now it can be like an holistic approach to each learner. So at the end of the report, you know where the teacher, parent, they sit. They take at the individual learning part of the student. So in sports, they excelled. In this subject, they scored these. Is there area for improvement and what can be done? Is it extra tuition? So the idea is not to emphasize you failed, you whatnot. The idea is to emphasize be good at the curriculum content or education, but also now what are you excelling in and how can we amplify that and make you better at it. For instance, I work a lot with learners with disabilities and in particular the deaf students, and you'll identify that when they are doing like the Kenya Sign Language examination, the student will get an A+. But when they maybe like English test, it will be like a D. So in your head, you're not good at linguistic, but you're forgetting they learn Kenya Sign Language is their mother tongue, and they've scored really well. That is excellent. So they can't communicate. It's just that they can't communicate in a way that fits your own beliefs and your own assumptions. So I think there's a lot of assumptions to what makes you good in one thing and another, but at the end of the day, the scores are good because you also can't coexist with your talent alone. You also need other skills. So we need to amplify that. That's why teaching goes on. Formative, summative assessments are done. So I think for me, that would be like I think my conclusion would be just look at the holistic approach when it comes to now talent, skills, curriculum, how now it makes like a specific individual learning path. At the end of the day, you're able now to look at this is your score in ABCD. You can also identify areas that you can get additional tuition support. It has helped in most cases. Improvement of grades, improvement of learning outcomes. Yes.
Yeah. Can I address that issue too? I think it's very dangerous to label children, particularly early on, oh, you're linguistically smart, and this is my logical mathematical child, because intelligence is the combination of both and the biological, psychological, and the environmental factors. Once environmental and the change and the opportunity change, and children will develop a different kind of interesting motivation learn, and you will show in other areas of learning. That's one. And the secondly, and I think your example really talk about intelligence. It doesn't matter what kind of a test, assessment that you develop, is limited. Because the test, you can't give them a lifelong, only limited time. That limited time is narrow. But intelligence can be manifested in so many different ways. As Lydia said, and in school, and you were labeled not very good in the scientific and mathematics with ability, but in fact, she is a manager, and she manages situations so well, because that the logical mathematical intelligence can be manifested in so many different ways. For me, it is thinking, it is reasoning, it is writing, and for someone else is engineering, and for someone else is create computer programs. So I think, and it's very important for educators and the parents to have this MI theory and in mind, on the one hand, on the other hand, to provide rich environment, to expose children a variety of opportunity, to focus on the development of the whole child rather than just one narrow areas.
Okay. Yeah, and now, Dr. Rachel, we've looked at the role that teachers or educators play in this, and education in general, you know, the role that education plays in the MI-based program. Now, what role do the parents have to play in this? Because they say charity begins at home. So when it comes to the parents, what role do they play in this, in ensuring that they get to also identify the intelligences that the children may be having, the different intelligences?
Thank you very much for that question. I think the first person to notice the aspect of intelligence a child has, or the potential, is the parent. If you really are taking care of your child and you are observing the way they are growing, they're developing in the various areas, you notice that your child is good in that area, is good in drawing, is good in collecting people, students together. So parents have a very key role to play, and that is why we should, as parents, get to know our children right from the beginning, because the home is the foundation of the future of any individual. So, and again, now according to the competence-based curriculum, and we are having issues that the parents, you are given as assignment, you go and do it at home, and you are supposed to download. There is nothing more unequal, like the equal treatment of unequal people. You go to the slum areas, and you are telling the parent to download. But the parent, you know, you do something, they will try to do what they can. So the parents are very critical in identifying and even telling the teachers that my child did this. And that is why my portfolio is very critical, because it's supposed to record every exceptional thing the student or the child is doing. It should be recorded there. And actually, even the assessment, the final assessment, the portfolio, the recording in the portfolio is supposed to contribute 60 as compared to the final exam, which is 40. So that is where we are saying the community, the parents are supposed to be there, and they're supposed to know, they are supposed to be alerted in how, on how their children are developing.
Yeah.
And we also need to educate them on the need of ensuring proper growth and development of their children. Because if you do not nurture your children, there comes a time when the retardation, and once it is even in pregnancy, if the child, the pregnancy is not is not developing properly, it reaches a point where it stagnates, and it reduces the abilities of the organs as in their performance once the child is born. So we are supposed to educate our parents on the importance of ensuring that there is proper growth and development and identifying. And because of this competence-based curriculum, that aspect that the parents should be educated on noting and recording the abilities, the special abilities of their children.
Okay, as we almost come to a close of this conversation, can MI be developed, or is it something that is innate?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Can multiple intelligences be developed over time, or is it something that is innate? Someone is born with these intelligences.
Well, I think as Howard Gardner sir said, that this is a potential, okay? In other words, we all possess the possibility of all these kind of multiple ways of learning and doing and intelligence. However, it is really the environment and it's the opportunities that shape who we are. I might have that opportunity, potential, but I never had the opportunity to develop that intelligence. So as we grown up, as the society change, and for instance, now, and the artificial intelligence is a part of our life, how does that impact our way of knowing? And we don't really know. We have to really look forward to be open-minded and to really see what that look like. But the important thing is that at this moment, at this time, we want all our children to thrive and the multiple intelligence, and to recognize that everybody has something to shine is one effective way of doing so.
Is there a correlation between multiple intelligences and one being gifted? Is it one and the same thing?
Wow. I think that question should be answered by the expert, but I could try maybe throw in my views in that.
Yeah.
Multiple intelligence and gifted
one
differently.
being gifted, yeah. Is it one and the same thing? You're gifted in this, you're gifted in that. So is it the same thing? Either of you can take that.
You can say that's your area.
Multiple intelligence, what we are saying, the multiple intelligence theory is supposed to identify the gifts
and
the area of talents people have and nurturing them. So we are talking about, when we talk about gifted and talented, we sometimes limit gifted to the academic and talent to people who are actors, who are musicians, who are politicians, who are leaders, that type of thing. But we are saying that, you know, the multiple intelligence, you know, it's an aspect. That is the gift you have. That's the area you are good at. So when you are giving multiple intelligences, we are saying this person is talented in this area, this person is gifted in this area, and there are several. There are people who are good, of course. You are good in academics, and now you are good in presentation here. You are doing it. We have the politicians who are good. They may be good in academic. They are also good leaders. We have the professors, and they are also good in so you can have somebody with 2 or 3 areas of you know, intelligence or competencies or gifts. You do not have to have only one.
Okay.
You can have. There are some who are good one. There's others who have got several abilities.
Yeah.
And
so
we should nurture them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's only a thin line between that.
Briefly, and in the tradition of gifted education, and we see something intelligent, other is more skills. And I think Dr. Rachel said, and if you're good sports and art and music, that's kind of a skills and considers lower than intelligence in terms of the I guess the smartness. But in MI framework, all 8 intelligence has equal importance. That's why, and Gardner purposefully used this as all called intelligence. They are equally important, and they are equally needed to be recognized in school curriculums.
Okay. Thank you so much. This is where we'll get to end this conversation. It was such a pleasure to have you on set. We had Dr. Rachel, we had Professor Jackie, and we also had Lillian on set with us. Thank you so much for joining us and for shedding light on this very, very important conversation that should be had over and over again. This is where we get to end Good Morning Kenya for today. Thank you so much to each and every one of you who has been tuned in. On behalf of everybody who ensured this show is a success, we want to wish you a lovely day and do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Goodbye. Thank you so much.
Greetings in the name of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice,
we have to do it twice.
Say bye-bye to FOMO, the fear of missing out, by downloading the KBC Online app that gives you access to everything you love. Get the latest news, sports, music, entertainment news, live radio, and so much more at the palm of your hands. To get the app, simply search KBC Mobile Digital App in your Google Play or App Store and download the app. Catch what you want, anytime, anywhere. Stay connected. Stay ahead with KBC Mobile Digital App.
Kenyanji, labda ni papa.
Man, what is that? Shame on you.
Why are you smooshing your phone?
Ay, Kamene. You've never heard of cryptocurrency?
When I will ask you by Avanda about it.
I expect to get 50,000 in return. So when am I expecting to get my money back plus the profit?
Maximum 7 days.
Hey, I am the luckiest. Angie, asante sana for your telling ni singi no.
Science. Tell science.
Nilikuwa naomba tu kwenda kumtembelea Jasiri.
Ati?
Mafutwa kazi.
Na nani?
Mbora.
Kodi zalipwa kila siku. Chakuaje hakuna dawa?
Hospitali imefungwa.
Kwa nini imefungwa?
Pikipiki posta. Tena utabaki hivyo na kuendelea kusema mambo ya watu.
Mimi ndio mwanzo na mwisho.
Kwamba kila mara unapozungumza na mimi ni kunifanisha tuna Kabiru. Elewa kwamba mimi na Hashon na Kabiru tu watu wawili tofauti.
Mama ungekuwa unahisi kuchoka mwanzo kabisa, ungehisi kuchoka na hii hulka yako mbaya mbovu ya kumleta kijana mdogo. Jamani, kijana mdogo tu kwenye nyumba. Na isitoshe mama,
as I was saying, unajua mimi sijaikuwa na dem tangu nizaliwe.
Acha kunichocha.
Sasa mbona nikuchocha?
You are right on time for the Senate proceedings. The morning sitting of the 4th of December, the year 2024. This is a broadcast streaming from the Parliament buildings, that is the Senate chambers, at the Parliament buildings in Nairobi. And this live broadcast is brought to you by the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in partnership with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. Now, as the senators convene for this sitting, the business lined up for consideration, there are bills that the senators will this morning consider. Bills that will be considered at the committee of the whole house stage. Before we go into details on the bills, let me just go through them. The county allocation of revenue bill, this is a bill that originates from the Senate, bill number 25 of 2024, a bill that is sponsored by the chairperson standing committee on finance and budget. The other bill that is scheduled to be considered at the committee of the whole is the cotton industry development bill, a bill also originating from the Senate bill number 5 of 2023, a bill sponsored by the chairperson standing committee on agriculture, livestock and fisheries. Now, these bills this morning, as the senators convene, will be considered, or rather will be considering them at the committee of the whole. What they will be considering on these particular bills at the committee of the whole house stage are considerations of, for instance, the county allocation of revenue bill. They will be considering recommendations that were forwarded by His Excellency the President. Remember, this is a bill, or these are county allocations that are needed amendments, of course, following the issues that came about with the finance bill. So this morning, as the senators convene, they will be considering the recommendations by the president. This is with regards to the revised allocation for each county government's equitable share of revenue.